You're watching Car Nitty. My name's Mizan, and today I'm sat in my E46 325 Ci, and I've got Tar here driving my car. Tar, welcome to the channel.
What's going on?
So as I've said, this is my E46 325 Ci, and this is Tahir's E46 330 Ci. Now, the main key difference with this car is the engine, but funnily enough, both cars have the M54 engine, all right? This is a M54 B25 for 2.5 litres, and this is the M54 B30 for it being a 3 litre. And what do you get with that? This car produces 190 brake horsepower and 245 newton meters of torque from an inline 6 naturally aspirated engine. This car with the B30 is a 3 litre inline 6 naturally aspirated engine, and it produces 230 brake horsepower and 300 newton meters of torque. Both cars are paired with a 5-speed manual gearbox. That's because both cars are pre-facelift. In the facelift E46, you get a 6-speed, and both cars have an open diff and they're rear-wheel drive. Now, the main point of this review is the fact that this car, you can pick it up for as little as £2,000, £2.5, £3 for a really good, clean example, if I'm being honest. Whereas these, you're gonna have to spend about £5 to £6. That's quite a big difference, but you're not getting a lot of extra power out of this compared to this. So what if you're looking for a E46 and you don't care about the engine, you just want an E46 in your life, you want that old school BMW in your life, and that's what we're gonna cover today. Tar is the owner of the 330 Ci that I've just shown you. Tar has had, how long have you had that car now?
1.5 years. In August will be 2 years.
And prior to that, it was Ibrahim that owned the car.
Yeah.
That's when the car made its first appearance on the channel. And if you watch the channel or my Instagram stories, you'll see that I regularly drive your E46, isn't it? So you should be familiar with it. And I just want to say that before we get into anything, I want to introduce Tar here. I mean, he's wearing a Car Nitty hoodie, as you can see, and the reason for that is Tar is actually the co-founder of Car Nitty. He's my best friend. I've known him for 7-8 years now, and he's the co-founder of Car Nitty. He's the person that started it with me in the early days, and then due to other commitments in his life, he couldn't keep it up, so he left. But I've carried it on. But regardless, Tar has had a massive impact in creating Car Nitty, and the reason why it still stands today. So even when I'm inactive and you guys aren't seeing uploads from me, believe me, he's chewing my ear off, having a go at me. So your 330 was a big reason why I bought the 325, wasn't it?
Yep.
Because every time I drove your car, I just felt so connected. And the reason for that is my first car was an E46. It was a 320D, it was a saloon, it was an SC, but it's still an E46.
It's still a manual as well,
yeah, it was a manual as well, exactly. So I genuinely had that love for an E46 always. And your car sort of, it reminds me of being a 19-year-old driving my one. And I thought to myself, yeah, you let me drive your car whenever I want, etc. But it's nice to have the keys to your own one, isn't it?
It's your own.
Exactly. And that's where this one came up. So someone that was a neighbor to someone close to me told me that my neighbor's selling this car. And I went to view it, and this car was going for a really good price. I mean, I took you with me, and you even said at that price you just got to take it.
Can't go wrong.
Can't go wrong. And it's not that bad on fuel as well. I just want to add that. I mean, your 330 gets 1 or 2 mpg better, less than this car.
It's not a big difference.
It's not a big difference. So, and in terms of day-to-day power, I've not noticed much between this car and your car. I also want to say that this car was initially bought to be my summer car as well, wasn't it? Because I thought when the summer comes, I'll drop the roof and I have a bit of fun. But things happen, and it ended up being a very good winter car for me, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, so that's the reason why I bought it. And I spoke to you so many times before I bought this car, and you even said to me, buying a 325, it's not that big of a deal, it's not that less of a deal, shall I say, sorry, than a 330. You were like, who cares, it's only 0.5 litre displacement, at least it's not a 320, that's what you said, isn't it, or the 4 pots. So what's your thoughts even now after, you've driven this as well plenty of times, so this isn't your first time, so what's your thoughts after all this time?
I mean, in terms of the car itself, it's very similar compared to the 330. Yes, the 330 has slightly more power and stuff. The noise is very similar. Obviously,
it's exactly the same.
Mine's not stock exhaust, but it's very similar. The tone of the exhaust.
You just know I'm a few mods away from having the same noise.
Exactly.
So noise is not even a point to argue at this point.
And the car itself drives absolutely fine. Obviously, mine's lowering springs and stuff, so it just drives slightly different. But we can't really.
Your car's been modified. This is the stock sport suspension that you would get.
It drives absolutely
and this
fine.
is how your 330 would have been from factory.
Yeah.
So comparing it against your suspension sap is completely unfair for that reason alone.
100%.
So this is the real 330 suspension experience.
Yeah.
And the only real and even the gearbox is the same.
The gearbox is identical. The good thing about this one is because it's stock, it's not lowered obviously.
Yeah.
You can daily this one.
Yeah.
My one you could never daily. It's just too many potholes and humps and everything. It's just really bad. I scrape everywhere.
Exactly.
So obviously my one's not a daily. This one you could daily if you really wanted to.
Exactly.
It's quite comfortable.
It really is comfortable, isn't it? It glides as well, doesn't it? And there's not that much body roll. It's fairly okay, isn't it?
Body roll's alright, to be honest. Obviously, if you're gonna be going B-road bashing, close the windows. It should be much better.
Yeah, you get a lot of scuttle shape. You're gonna hear a lot of that through this video.
So second you open the window, it's not very good. Yeah.
But the key thing is here, right? You're a 330 owner, and you're telling me as you're driving this car, it's not that much different.
It's not a big difference. That's the honest truth. I mean, top end, my car has a bit more power, but again, my car's not setting no records in the first place. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. For the price difference, I don't know. And for me, obviously, I went for the 330 because that is my, I got my daily, but I don't have anything else. But you've got your other cars, so
I've got multiple cars. This was bought to be with the intention that this will be my third vehicle. How's the brakes and whatnot? I mean, you've got upgraded brakes.
I've got upgraded brakes, yeah, but to be honest, E46 brakes are not great. In my opinion, I'm just used to newer cars, and the brakes they're not there. They're lacking.
That bite isn't there.
It's just lacking.
You have to stamp on them really hard to actually when you really want to start.
And that's why I upgraded mine. Yeah. I couldn't do it.
How is the gearbox like when you're shifting? You feel exactly the same?
It's identical to mine. Identical.
So you don't feel any play or any vagueness. When you throw into gear, you can feel it.
It's the same gearbox.
Yeah, it is. It
feels the same to me. The only good thing is, I think you got a brand new clutch, so your clutch is
I do have a brand new clutch. Yeah.
My clutch is quite heavy. This one's quite nice and soft.
Exactly.
Which is quite nice.
Definitely. It's not the fastest thing in the world.
No, it's not.
It's really not. But it's decent. Look, we're pulling. I do feel that slight bit of...
What's the word?
Boldness. I'll use boldness.
It's not too bad. Obviously, it's a convertible soft top, so
it is, yeah.
You're gonna
one thing people need to understand is when you buy a convertible and you don't buy the coupe, you're losing the B pillar. So as a convertible, you can see this car is pillarless in the middle. So these are frameless windows, and the roof is a soft top that can fold away. So you're missing a good part of the structural rigidity of this car, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
And when it comes to sporty driving, you almost feel the body flexing a little bit.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. That's
you
how
do,
it is.
and that's why we get all these creaks and noises, because this glass doesn't have anything to rest itself up against.
Yeah, literally, it's on the roof.
It's just on the roof, and I remember, look, the GoPro is shaking quite a bit, and I remember this happened when I reviewed the 330 with Ibrahim. That it was shaking a lot, but in the final footage it wasn't. So this is my point. You don't feel it in the car, but the GoPro, because it's to the glass, the windshield,
feel it, a lot more.
it feels it. And this is what I'm saying to you. It's just part and parcel of owning a convertible, isn't it?
Yeah,
a soft top convertible, at least.
I made my peace with it a long time ago.
Exactly, and the honest truth is, I see it as the convertibles offer so much more in terms of enjoyment. Like the summer comes, the weather's nice, just drop the roof. A lot of people share that mentality of having an old BMW. Now, if you look at the E30 3 Series, if you want a 325i, which is the best engine under the M3 of the E30, you're looking at around 15 grand, 10 to 15 grand, and we're looking at one that has most restoration complete, by the way, but it may need other maintenance issues. But the restoration side of it, you're not going to have a rust bucket, so you're looking at 10 to 15 grand, 12 to 15, sorry. Then you've got the E36, the most hated generation of 3 Series, arguably, but I personally love them. And an E36 for 328i, which is the one you want, in a sport trim, you're looking at around 8 to 10 grand. And again, that's quite a lot of money for a car that's not that loved, but that's how much they're worth if you want a good clean one. Then you've got the E46s, and specifically this one, because this is the 330, this is the flagship model under the M3. This car is worth around 5-6 grand right now, and the honest truth is it will keep climbing. This car, it won't. But saying that, right now it's 5-6 grand. I can imagine this car will get to 8-9, and I personally think this car will overtake the E36. It won't overtake the E30 because that has a huge cult following, but I think this will overtake the E36. And if you're gonna buy one, I think now is the best time. That's why Tahir doesn't plan on letting this car go.
Okay, relax, lad. You're gonna wear a gearbox out at this point when you buy.
So we're now in the 330, and instantly what I will say is this car has got a beautiful exhaust setup, and that is a power flow back box, right?
Yeah, power flow back box.
And that's it, and a secondary decap.
And a wrist delete.
And a wrist delete. So the only thing it's got is the primary cats and that back box, and it makes this amazing sound. I can't think of anything else to describe it as. And already you can feel the fact that this car has been lowered and it is a lot more stiffer. If we were talking about a daily, you're right, this is more of an unbearable thing, but this car feels so much better to drive. I feel so connected to the car, so connected, and I completely understand why you went for this setup. And to be fair, even if you're on a 325, I see no reason why someone shouldn't just do this, you know?
Yeah, it's not expensive at all.
It's not expensive, and it just makes the car feel so good. And one thing I have to say is, although the Topaz Blue is a brilliant paint job on the 325, the Sapphire Black in this is still a nice colour, and I think it contrasts really well with the black roof, the soft top. Because in my one, the soft top does stand out quite a bit because of the blue paint job, whereas your one kind of blends.
Yeah, it blends in.
It does look good. And then your beige leather interior, I just think it's such a nice contrast with the black paint. Whereas obviously I've got grey in my car, but saying that, back in those days, grey was the standard colour option. Black was, right now if you buy a car, black leather is usually the base option. Any colour costs you a bit of money to spec it. But back in the 90s, grey was actually the colour that was the standard colour, not black. And now it's quite nice when you see a car with grey leather interior, isn't it? This car, if you're driving it casually, I'm going to say it straight up, apart from your setup, which I'm trying to ignore for the life of me because it's unfair, any 330 that you guys pick up, if you were looking to buy one, will be driving like the 325. So let's take that out of the equation. But in terms of general driving, you can't tell the damn difference. Comfort as well. The seats are exactly the same, different color, but exactly the same. I'm hearing the same squeaks and rattles I get in my car. Maybe I'm getting a bit more in this car because it's been lowered and it's got stiffer dampers, isn't it?
Yeah, and the thing is, when the car's slightly dirty, like the window noises and stuff, you hear it more. When you clean it again, you still hear it again. When it's like, give it a day or two, then the noise goes.
What's that?
I don't know what the logic is behind that, but I've noticed when I wash the car, I get a bit more of the noise from the windows, and when it's really dirty, I get the noise as well. So I was like, you can't win. You can't win.
It's very hard, I have to say, and it's just driving an E46 is such a pure, unadulterated experience. That's the best way that I can describe driving this car, if you ask me. It's, I have no words. There's very rarely that I drive a car and I can just tell you that it just feels good. And you can't, it's like being with a woman you love. You don't know why you love the woman. You don't know what it is about her, but you love it. And that's the best way to describe this car. I know it sounds really weird, but I'm talking about another man's car this way, but I have a bond with this car, and you know it.
Yeah.
I do have my own bond, my own relationship with this car. That exhaust is glorious, and it reminds me of the time I had an E31 850i, which has got a 6-litre V12, double the cylinders, double the display, and it sounded exactly like this. This car is so fun. Am I gonna I'm at? No. It's music. It sounds so good. The best thing about this car is a manual. If you buy an automatic, so I didn't even cover this. If you want an automatic E46, just don't buy one, all right? Just don't even buy one.
No point.
No point. This car is so fun. The noise it produces, it's just such a nice car. I think I've wet the seat. I think I've wet the seat. It's just glorious.
I love the way it screams.
It's not like the R32 where it screams. Why do I love the R32? When you drive that car and you're going for it, the engine is screaming, saying, it's the way it screams is like an opera singer, isn't it? And then when you change gears, the voice just drops and then it starts all, and that's why I love the R32. It's such an experience. But then this car is, although it's a 6-cylinder, it has this V8 quality to it. I can't explain it.
It's deep.
It's deep. It's like an angry bear screaming. The C63 is like a lion when it screams. This is like a bear that's trying to chew your leg off, like. And I love it. And like I said, I've driven a V12 on the channel, a BMW V12 at that. This car sounds identical. The E46 is becoming a rare sight on our roads. Depending on where you live, you might see them out in the wild if you're lucky. Question is, where have most of these cars gone? Sadly, a lot of them have died from rust, lack of maintenance, or being uneconomical to repair. It's getting harder and harder to buy a good used example day by day. If you have any love for this generation of 3 Series, I strongly urge you to run out and buy one whilst there's still reasonable money. A 330 Ci will be around £5,000, but if that's too much, I hope this video proved a 325 Ci isn't a poor man's E46, but rather it's the financially wise man's choice. Realistically, the M3 will be the dream, but they're nearly the same value as an E9X M3, and they have their common issues, so I'm not trying to bankrupt anyone here. The M54 engines seem to be the safer bet for anyone, and that silky smooth straight 6 is orgasmic once the exhaust has been tweaked with. Point is, go out and buy 330 Ci. If you've got a family to feed and dependents and that's a stretch, no problem, buy 325 Ci. I don't want to hear no excuses.